Yo, welcome to episode 100 of Networking with Nathaniel. This is a podcast where I get to talk to real estate investors, entrepreneurs, people that are just growing in their businesses, in their relationships, in their lives. So if that is you, you have come to the right place. I am Nathaniel Hovsepian. I am host of Network.
Wait, well, hold on. You're the host, but today we're flipping the script. Today, I am taking the host's seat, and Nathaniel, you get to be the interview guest.
Ooh.
It is episode 100. It is a milestone. And yes, Nathaniel, you have been the host of Networking with Nathaniel. And I want to welcome you today as the guest seat as we're flipping the mic around.
I'm excited.
I'm your host, Kevin Schouweiler. Executive coach, been in podcast marketing and production around some of the biggest names in business and marketing, health and wellness, some of those top 50 shows that you might have seen. And I want you guys to get a deep dive into the world of what it's like to go on a journey, start, not quite know where it's going to lead. And when consistently you keep showing up, you land yourself at a big milestone like episode 100. So sit down, buckle up, take some notes. You're going to see behind the scenes what it's like for somebody that has gone on the journey all the way to hitting 3 digits in the number of episodes released. With that, let's dive in.
Let's do it.
Now, Nathaniel.
Yes.
First question I'd like to ask on an episode like this. Big milestone, hitting 100. What would the version of you from the first episode, think back that, what would that version of you be surprised about to see where today the podcast is?
I would say it's very difficult for me to look back 2 years to 2 years ago version because of a lot of growth has happened because of the podcast, because of all the other things that I've been working on outside of the podcast. But I would probably say he would be surprised that it's not bigger than it is. And I'll preface that with, or I'll kind of explain, is that when you get started in something and you're seeing other people that are having success doing what you're about to start doing, you get into what Jesse and other people have called uninformed optimism. And so you think, oh, I'm gonna have hundreds of views. You know, people are gonna be showing up live. I'm gonna create this cult, for lack of a better word, around networking with Nathaniel. And most of the time, the people that are live, it's a very small knit group. They're the people that show up every week, and they're coming to see the amazing people that I get to have on. But it hasn't grown quite as big as I thought it was going to 100 episodes in. And I can relate that to pretty every aspect of life, is that things tend to take a little bit longer than you think they're going to take.
Such a great answer. I've heard this from many people. Like, you envision your mind, I'm going to be to the moon. If I get 52 episodes, like a whole year in, I'm going to be on all the big name podcasts. They're going to want me on, right? We get these things in our mind, like it's going to be amazing. Yeah. And then when we get started, like you mentioned, it goes from informed optimism to uninformed optimism to informed pessimism. And you're like, oh, wow, this is work. And oh, there wasn't as many comments or downloads. And oh, is anybody listening? And is this working? And for anyone out there, as someone that's been behind a lot of podcasts, what I used to give to people when they're kind of getting the traction going is commit to 200 episodes. Now, Nathaniel, you're halfway there. It's a big milestone by all means. I know Chris Williamson has said this. He's a podcast host, and I've seen this quote elsewhere. If you just get to 21 episodes, you're in the top 1% of all podcasts.
Yeah.
Because many people start, they get on with it, and the enthusiasm fades. Oh, this is work. Oh, is this even working? Only to then fade out. And you've kept going. And I want to acknowledge that. It takes something. Now, the same guy, Chris Williamson, he was hosting his podcast weekly, upgrading the production and the quality of guests and interviews and deep dives, all for like 4 to 5 years before it even really hit traction. And now you'll see him on Instagram Reels, YouTube clips, a bunch of things. And sometimes it takes way longer than we think. And I want to just acknowledge that to anyone else that's thinking of starting. Success may take a while, but how committed am I to show up, even if it takes 2, 3, 4, 5 years to get the traction I truly want? Does the message matter? Is the networking and connections that you're creating here enough for that to even be worth a long-term view? And I love when Alex Hormozy talks about it. She's like, think about it in like 10-year, 20-year span of time. Like, would this thing I'm starting be something that I would be excited and still happy about seeing where it goes over 10 to 20 years?
Yeah.
Like, ooh, that might select and filter out some things. So hard to put myself there, but I love seeing this. Now, as it's gone, okay, you've had interviews and guests and things showing up. Has there been a point, or during this first 100 episodes, where you've seen an inflection point? Either it feels like, hey, this is working for me, I'm finding my flow, or vice versa. Ooh, this is hitting with the audience and this is finding flow. Take me into that. If there's a point for you or the audience where something just felt like it's starting to click.
No. There, and this is a recurring theme in my life. It seems like that if you recall my 10-minute speech, that there is not a moment for me that has changed my life overnight. And it's kind of the same for the podcast, is that it's been a series of events, specific guests that have come on, yourself, Jesse Stanton, who was here, at least was here live at some point. Pace Morby was on, Vina Jetty, all these people that have come on, and that has attracted to a new tribe, so to speak, to the podcast. And then, some people resonate with just me and what I do and the questions that I ask and things like that, and they'll stick around. And other people, they come and they watch one episode and they're like, I don't like the other guys. I'm gonna leave. And that's okay with me. To your point about, before you ask this question, why I keep doing it, and I ask almost every episode, should I be doing this still? Is this still giving value to my life, my business, my relationships? And up until 100 episodes so far, the answer is still yes. I get to talk to people like yourself, like, the other, well, it's not 99 guests because I've had a couple repeats, Kevin Schouweiler being one of them.
Let's go. I'm on the top list. I'm a repeat.
Let's just say it's been 85 to 90 guests that I've had on that I've gotten to talk to. Out of those, probably 90% of them I keep pretty in touch with. These are people that I've built a relationship up with, and for one reason or another, I've wanted them to come on, or they've wanted to come on the show. And so it has helped me build up my Rolodex, so to speak, of, hey, if I need something, I know people that, can help out with these opportunities. And so for those reasons is why I kind of keep going. But long-winded, no, not a moment. I keep wishing for a moment almost. But my life has been just a series of moments that have culminated to leading me to this point. And I'm looking forward to what the next, 100 episodes, 2 years brings.
I think everyone can take something away from this, that especially your speech that you had in the speaker competition. It isn't like this turnaround moment. I was, back against the wall and then I line in the sand and it happened.
Yeah.
It's a series of little moments and continually choosing to show up, still questioning. And I think a lot of people could benefit from having that taken to heart, whether it's starting a podcast, starting a YouTube channel, being in business, committing to volunteering for something. Hey, I'm going to be a coach for my kids, sport. Okay, great. Is it going to click right away? Maybe not. Maybe it'll be a few seasons before I find my stride and it feels like something's working. And I had a gentleman, a good friend of mine, he was in an accountability group, started a podcast, grew it to the top, like the top downloaded podcast for hotels. Okay. Did that over the span of just over 4 years. And he was still having the question of, is this worth it? Is this really, like, yeah, I got a bunch of connections, but where's the result? Where's this big sort of banger result? But then when he looked into, like you said, Rolodex, I have so many connections that in a moment's notice I can call. It's hard to quantify what that resource is. So just as much as the podcast gives to listeners, it also gives to the host. You learn things, create relationships, right? You get this social capital that's hard to really quantify or put a net worth around.
Yeah.
But it builds you and it builds the network. I think it's an interesting effect. More people could benefit from just realizing that it's not a quantifiable thing. But without it, where would I be if I did need something, or I wanted to tap someone on the shoulder with a question, right?
It's funny you mentioned that, the value that I get out of it, because when I started it, I forget when it was. It must have been 2023, probably, or June maybe. And Pace Morby says, "Hey, you got to go start a podcast. What the heck am I going to do on a podcast?" And selfishly, I was like, "Oh, I'll bring people on. I get to talk to people, and I get to learn from them, and I get to network from them." So it kind of started a little bit out of selfishness, in all honesty. But I think that's, if I'm not getting enjoyment out of it and I'm not making the connections with the people, then whoever's watching is going to understand that and is not going to get any value out of it. I've done my darndest to, and I've done very well, not having just a list of, see, there's almost nothing on it, of pre questions. I open the conversation pretty open typically, and then just am curious. And I don't want to jump ahead in the questions that you have here.
Yeah.
But
I come a little structured. I think there's a lot to be said about if it's too structured, it feels robotic and not very in flow. And to find your flow, was there a point where you as a host started to feel like I was in flow? Was it right out the gate, or was it a little later on?
Before I answer that, Kevin, Fit Fatherhood has something to say.
If you're a busy dad, or you know one that is looking to focus on their health and their wellness, the Fit Fatherhood community might be just for you. It's said that when we have our health, it frees us up to have many, many goals, but when we don't, we only focus on the one. So we're focused on keeping our health and wellness as a top priority in Fit Fatherhood. We've built this community of busy dads, all like-minded, looking to grow and flourish and be great examples for our families of what health and wellness looks like. So if that's you, or you know somebody who that might be for, follow the link in the description and come join the Fit Fatherhood Facebook group today. Let's get back to the show.
So I would say no. I have been on camera for a long time now. If you go back, and I haven't deleted any of my old videos, maybe to a fault. I've been in front of a camera for 6 or 7 years now, and some of the old videos are pretty tough to watch. They're me playing the saxophone pretty poorly. I play the saxophone better than most people, but most people don't play the saxophone. So we'll just go that far. But I had my first couple episodes were friends, people that I already knew. So I was pretty comfortable just having a conversation with them. But I think that the quality of questions that I ask as I've gotten into 100 episodes have gotten better. People are a little bit more, "Oh, that's a good question," rather than I'm just kind of surface level stuff. I try to dig in to what's and hows and whys, so people that are tuning in that are maybe a chapter or two behind can advance and advance their book of life, so to speak. Because that's what I'm really trying to go for when I have guests on, is like, "Oh, you're a mother of 3. Okay, well, how are you navigating as a parent, being an entrepreneur and being a parent as well?" Because that's something that's very important to me. I'm family first. So that's where I'm leading a lot from. And again, not trying to jump too far ahead here, but I'm iterating, even from here. I've made a pivot from being completely real estate focused to what you just saw on a little commercial break, Fit Fatherhood, being a health and wellness coach for dads. And so networking with Nathaniel has to adapt and grow to where I'm currently at and where my focus is. And so while I'm still going to be diving into the individual and their business and what they're working on, because I want anybody that's listening that goes, "Oh, I have something that would work with this people, or we can have an opportunity." That's a big component of networking with Nathaniel, is to create connections with other people. I am going to be digging more into the, the mindset, the health side of things as entrepreneurs, or as, high income earner, what's the word
High
I'm
output,
looking
high
for? Like,
performing,
high performing, professionals. You don't necessarily need to be an entrepreneur for all these things to be applicable. But as I'm moving more into that focus, I want to get more into that stuff with people, and really digging into their hows and whys that give them the energy and give them the focus and give them the clarity to be high performers.
That's interesting. I find that this is also true with a lot of hosts, is you
Mm.
start with a focus and then something in your alignment may reveal itself as you're going along. And it seemed like this is a very similar thread
Yeah.
where it was very real estate focused. Now I'm starting to find in these conversations and in my own personal growth, there's a part of me in my alignment that's calling to me, and you're stepping into it. And so
Yes.
this platform that you're building can be more than one mouthpiece. With the style, how has the style changed? I know there may be some juicy things coming up that we'll reveal, but have you changed as a host in your style or approach beyond just the, less questions, more flow? Is it anything about the prep work? Is it anything about how I select or reach out to guests?
A lot of the things that I've changed over the 100 episodes are a lot less about the hour that I'm spending with the guest. I don't do a lot of prep work because I want the conversation to be very genuine in the moment, me just being curious. And if I dive too much into, Kevin's history and past, and really find out exactly what you're doing right now, it kind of, for me at least, it makes the show not as enjoyable. Yeah, I want to know what you've been, I want to have some history, because I don't want to just bring on anybody onto the show. But I'm not going to, spend 3 hours doing research and figuring out exactly what makes this person tick. I want it to be, native here to this conversation. I've gone through how I actually get guests on the show, how I do that outreach, and most of it is through social media, DMing, texting, emailing, all those types of things. I started out in Zoom, and I was recording an episode, and then I was taking it into an editor and editing the episode, and I moved to StreamYard. StreamYard, I would still kind of cut and make the episode live without it being live. But then I went, you know what? Let's just freaking do this thing live. I take the recording aspect out of it, and it makes it a little bit more fun for people to come in. And, when the audience is engaging in the chat, hint, hint,
Yeah.
that, it makes it a little bit more engaged. The audience can ask questions of the guest or the host, and feel a little bit more involved in the show. And then just from the marketing standpoint too, those things. And I still think we're very underselling our marketing. I don't post it out a bunch of places. That has grown as well. It was just like, hey, I have a guest on this week. You might want to come check it out. To now it's a little bit more regimented, to where, hey, this day we're sending out these pieces, that, this day we're sending out different things. So even that's growing, and it's less about the actual content of the show than like the logistics of everything that go around the show.
I think this is important, because when I think of the flow, the prep work piece, I used to look at hours of somebody's content and dive into their website and go back and forth. Now I can use something like Claude, or with Anthropic, I can use chat GPT. I can get more of a summary because it's already crawled some of the stuff that's out there. And that can give me a little bit more of their background, their history, some of the highlights and things that are already out there. So it's cut some of that prep work down. And then I get to go into, what am I curious about this person? Review. Like work. Some of that can get up to conversation.
I'm losing you, Kevin. Dang. Let's try. I don't know if it's just me or if it's anybody else out there. I'm going to remove him. Yeah, he's totally frozen. We're going to see if he comes back. I'm going to. Oh, wait, there he is.
Hot spot for the win.
Yeah, nice.
By the way, everyone, just so you know, the joys of doing things live means there's no cut and then we'll paste and there's you get to see all how the sausage is made in the soup. And sometimes it's a little messy, but there's more than one way to do this. So I was just commenting, anyone that does have a question, please put it in the chat. This is your chance to interview the host of this show, Nathaniel. He's got a lot of wisdom. 100 episodes is not a light lift. And the reason I used to have people commit to 200 episodes is because if they just get halfway to 100, they're going to have things revealed to them. Like we talked about alignment, what's resonating for me as guests, what's resonating with the audience as far as engagement, downloads, and comments. And you can think, oh my gosh, that's a lot. But honestly, it's not that much when you look back at things that I've consistently done in work. What's 100 hours at work?
Yeah.
Not that much. I mean, that's like 3 weeks of hanging around and going to the office. Now, I get it stretched out over weeks, which is why, it can seem like a long time in your mind, but the actual hours behind it all isn't crazy. Now, when you're doing the editing and you're doing all the uploads and I'm now filtering through the reviews and the comments, that can be a lot. And I would say for many of the hosts out there or aspiring hosts, hiring help can be a really big piece to it all. Who might help with the graphics, the editing, who can help with the uploads, the responding to comments in my style. Ideally, it's you, but if there is just too much bandwidth issue, you can hire. I know for a lot of hosts, it's like where they shine is being in that zone of genius behind the mic. Everything else in the tech world, there are options, either automated or with a human that can help out. Now, when I was looking at different episodes, I went back through the past, there's a lot of really amazing interviews. You had some really fun guests. What ones, if somebody's just tuning in, like they haven't seen the full story arc, what ones stand out in your mind that you learned a lot from, or that you found that the audience really seemed to engage with those? Because some of these, they might want to go back and look.
Yeah. It's so tough because it really depends on the individual that's interested in, or what the individual is interested in. For me, the ones that resonated a lot are actually yours, Jesse, Stanton. I couldn't tell you when these episodes. Creighton Bertrand has been on twice. Both of those episodes, you guys have a way of asking questions, which inspires me to ask better questions. And he is just an assassin with the questions that he asks.
Intense.
In the best way I could say that, Creighton, if you're listening, he's precise, and he knows somehow where the next two questions are going, because he's able to read you, your body language, the way you're speaking, and he asks a question in order to lead you, to guide you. And he's incredible at that. But, Pace Morby, there were some things that he talked about in the episode that, man, if this guy who's running, multiple businesses, has hundreds of employees, if he's able to take the time out of his day to put his family first and to put himself first, why the heck am I not able to do those? Those types of aha moments. And, Vina Jetty, talking from a parent standpoint, Vina Jetty, Carly Grunman just last week. Who was it 2 weeks ago? Rhea Campbell.
Oh, yeah. I love her
I mean,
energy.
we could have talked for 3 hours on parenting alone. And so depending on what you're trying to do, if you're really real estate focused, there's some really solid episodes just around different aspects of real estate. Like, you want to go buy RV parks, Michelle Basson, that episode was amazing. Right?
Banger.
If you're trying to do organic outreach, Mike Scarpa, the things that he's doing on Facebook and not paying for anything, getting deals just incoming to him, incredible. And so there's just I mean, I've learned something from darn near every episode, but those are the ones that just kind of pop out to me right off the bat. Yeah.
I love this because there's something that might resonate with one, but not another. And so it touches on all things in life, like real estate or business specific.
Yeah.
Some real deep dives on the podcast, but also life isn't just segmented and isolated, and you dive into a lot of things about like parenting or relationships in life. And I think that we get to feel you in that as well as we get to feel the guest in that. And I love that because all of us get to experience that in life too. It's not like, oh, I'm just going to go here to business only to, not have my life connected to it. It's all connected.
Right. Yeah.
With the direction of the podcast, I want to get into this. You're all the way to 100. Okay. lot revealed, lot learned.
Yeah.
What do you now see on the horizon? What do you see for the next evolution of where networking with Nathaniel gets to go? Style, guests, the direction of message and how it connects with audience.
Yeah. It already has begun to veer from being so real estate focused, and it will continue to do that. It is still going to be an entrepreneur at heart, podcast, at least until something like that changes. What I intend to do is almost segment the hour a little bit, where the first half an hour is really, 20 to 30 minutes is really about what the person's working on, what the vision for their future is, and how they're going to overcome any roadblocks that are going to get into the way. And then the second half, I do envision it being a little bit more, how are you managing all this? A little bit more of the life aspect of being a high performer. And how are you taking care of your health? What are the habits and the things that you're doing on a daily or weekly basis that are allowing you to continue to show up at a high level as a entrepreneur, as a spouse, as a parent, whatever that looks like. And so many of the guests that have come on, I haven't had a chance to dive into that, but have so much value to give because they're out there, they're freaking cooking, and there's a lot of thought and there's intention that goes behind it. You don't get to success, at least not many people do, without being very intentional about your day, your time, and the things that you're allowing or not allowing into your life. And so that's where I see it iterating over the next, 20 to 30 episodes. That's going to kind of be my focus. And I am going to be branching out to trying to get more, I want to get more fitness type people on so I can talk about where their specific thing, just so I can learn more about, the coaching and the logistics behind what they're doing, but also reach new people, reach new audience that way. And so that's where I'm kind of driving in a sense.
With
Jesse.
Yeah, baby. Jesse R. Stanton is in the house. So you just mentioned some of these areas you want to dive into. I like having the dream list. I don't know if anyone's heard of like a dream 100 list. Like, what are the 100 guests I would be over the moon to dive into a conversation with? Now, I'm not asking for all 100. Who might filter towards the top of that list in your mind that if I could connect or get them on the show, you would be over the moon about? This is spitball. This isn't, by the way, this is like in real time, so everyone knows. As a host, questions just come to you, and You might not have prepped the guest on this, but I want to hear some of the ones that might tickle your fancy to be on that.
I immediately go to, like a Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, those type of people that have just had this longevity in their careers and have put so much intention behind their mindset and what makes them tick, and have helped so many people. I could, what's the Beachbody guy's name? I can't think of his name right now. The big fitness influencer. Yeah. But he had a health, he was at the top of the world, and then he had a health thing happen and he crashed, and then he since has come back. So those kinds of journeys are very intriguing to me. My new fitness coach, Justin Mahaley, I haven't invited him. If he's listening though, he's gonna come on. Arnold.
Arnold would be fire.
That would be pretty fire. I could probably, if you gave me some time, I could easily fill 100. But those are the ones that really come to me just spur of the moment, or those people that have had longevity. And one thing that, from the health and the fitness standpoint, that I noticed when I was at Squat Up, and I actually made a post about this after, it wasn't the tactics that they gave, the sales advice, all these things that stood out to me the most. It was Pace Morby is in shape. Dean Graziosi is in shape. Of course, David Goggins is in shape. Jerry Norton is in shape. All these people are at the height of their careers and have been taking freaking care of themselves, because they realize that taking care of their health bleeds into everything else that they do. 100%. And so that's what I want. Tony Little. Yeah, that's maybe. Sorry, I got freaking shiny object right there.
You're like, what? You're gonna think of the name right after if it's not Tony. I can't think of. I know who you're talking about.
Tony Little doesn't sound right to me, but Tony does. Yeah, but okay. Sorry, distraction.
Nonetheless, like you know who it is in your mind.
Yeah,
and I agree with you on those that are at the top of their game with longevity. Health is a major component to it.
Yeah,
and if you don't have the health behind it, it really struggles. I've worked a lot with people that have an 8-figure business or even a 9-figure business. Okay. And you might think, oh, they're successful. Yeah, but if they don't have their health or their relationships are in shambles, like it's all for naught, because it's really a vehicle to help with the areas of life that truly matter. Yes, giving value to the world and feedback, great. I want to help people. But if I don't have health as the foundation, it's pretty rough.
Yeah.
And then relationships.
There's exceptions, right?
Oh, there's some. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
There are some. I think it is interesting, though, to find somebody that is at the top of their game in something like business, and they're able to keep their health on track. What's going on there for that person?
Yeah.
And I would say there's success leaves clues. There's probably a lot of overlaps. I'd also like to find like what's slightly different with how Tony approaches versus like a Dean or like Jamil, who lost a bunch of weight, or I remember the point where I was like, Cody Sperber has guns now. Like that guy got, what happened? All of a sudden he went from like a skinny guy to like, he took it serious. Yeah, bro. But there's something behind that. Like what made the difference there? And they're all strapped with this like thing around time. We all have the same 24 hours. How are they prioritizing that when something comes up? And this is where the questions are important.
Yeah, and I was like I don't know if pessimist is the right word, but somebody who's trying to pick holes in this could look and go, well, Dean Graziosi has a team around him that's taking care of all those things. Well, he didn't start out like that. And even though he has a team, he's still putting a bunch of time into his businesses every day. He's just putting in different, higher impact, working on the business time. So, and he's got a family and he's got all these other things, but he's still prioritizing. And I just picked Dean as one person. So, it's easy for us to fall into that trap of, oh, well, they're successful. It's easy for them to take care of their health. No, they've been doing that along the way. Or like you mentioned, Jamil, he wasn't. And then something clicked. I don't know what it was. He's on the 100 list because I like to talk to him about that. But something clicked in him and he said, no, I got to start taking care of my health. And since he's made a huge transformation. And so it's easy for us to, or it can be easy for us to look at those people and go, well, they're successful. They have all the time in the world. No. They're just being more intentional with the time that they have.
Right.
They're not sitting on their couch for 2 hours every night watching Netflix. Not every night, at least. Yeah.
I would guess you'd find, even if you double clicked into their 1 or 2 moments where they're human and find themselves on social or watching or scrolling through Netflix looking for the perfect show. But there's little
30
habits.
minutes later, you're like, gosh.
Those little habits I find super interesting. I got the opportunity to dive deep with James Clear, author of Atomic Habits. He was at an event that we were at, and he was just talking about they're all just little building blocks. Everyone's stacking these little things over time unconsciously, and some of these habits aren't things that we intentionally meant to have in our day to day. Are we auditing what those little tiny habits are? What's the reward we're getting, the payoff? Is it really serving what I want? And how do I replace some of those with things that align with my health or with my family? So I would love to go into those questions as well with those types of guests. Now, as far as the show, okay, what are 3 big lessons you learned that stood out from guests that have stuck with you? If you were to pick 3, what stands out that stuck with you?
The biggest one I think that has stuck with me, and I would say number 1, like kind of above any other, is take action. Learn something and then put it into practice. And the quicker or the less amount of time you can spend between learning and action, the more success you're going to have, because that person that's just continue to learn and learn and learn versus the person that goes, okay, now do. That doer has already learned 2 or 3 other things that person that's just still reading the book is going to have no idea about, because that book didn't tell them. And so just taking action. I've had a lot of guests that have come on and say something along the lines of, when people come in and they're like, hey, can I help you? Yeah, go do this. And 90% of them don't ever show up again.
Guilty.
Because they didn't go take it. Yeah.
I think we all have had those moments. Yeah. A mantra I got from one of the mentors I had, he was a client that I really looked up to, podcaster. He was actually a host of ESPN for Australia.
Okay.
Great personality, fire energy. But one of the mantras I got from him is just do it now. Nike's got it made. They stole that and ran with it. Do it now has been a mantra that I wish I'd have gotten earlier. And like I could get 2 chapters into a book and have that impulse, but then go, oh, but chapter 3, I turn I'm already hooked, and I just keep consuming. I just mind. What if I were to actually take that impulse and use the new mantra, do it now? Do it now. Most of the things in business, Brandon Turner is famous for talking about this, is like, it's just a series of little 5-minute tasks stacked into infinity. But I would venture to say the core parts of a business, let's say, or with health, there's like an 80-20 to it. And there's a series of little 5-minute pieces. If I could just trick myself into taking that wave of impulse and go, do it now, I'd get into one of those first 5-minute tasks.
Yeah.
And then I would build momentum, because I would go, oh, like you see in real time evidence of moving towards something. And so when someone gives a how-to, that's great information, but the context behind it is who is the beingness that's showing up, that is implementing the how-to.
Right.
And we could easily skip over that. Well, yeah, I just know what to do. It's not so much what to do. It's who am I being behind the doings. Yeah. So I love that you're taking that away. What other things stand out? What other
before I go there, I just wanted to, because you mentioned Brandon Turner, and this specific thing has come up on Networking with Nathaniel. I couldn't tell you how many times, but a handful at least. And behind the just take action thing is he has a story about a truck that he was trying to sell. And he just go, he didn't know what the heck to do. well, what would somebody want if they were going to buy this truck from me? Well, they would want it clean. So his thing is just go wash the truck. And by going and washing the truck, it spurs his thinking. Okay, well, what's the next step now? Now, if he didn't go wash the truck, if he didn't take the first step, he wouldn't have learned the second step, or he wouldn't have learned the third step. So many times we want to know all 15 steps before we go take number one. Well, if you don't take 1, 2, 3, you will never know 4, 5, and 6, because those ones reveal themselves between 1, 2, and 3. And so that, I don't know if it resonates with everybody, but a big takeaway that I've had is leading with your values and values first. And for a long time, I did not. I was just like, I got to move the business, the needle, the phone's ringing, answer the phone, instead of leading with my values. And a lot of guests that have come on have, through straight up saying it or alluding to it, said, I put God first, I put my family first, I put my health first, whatever those things are, because if I don't, what the heck is the point of having a flourishing business? And I've mentioned it to clients and on other podcasts as well, as like, I can go build $1 million business, and if after 15 years I can't stand up, or I can't tie my shoes, or my kids don't freaking recognize me, for me, I don't give anything I don't care about the $1 million business. That doesn't matter to me. If I lose those things along the way. So that values, like leading with values, is a big one. And another kind of common theme, which Duran Levy was a really, really early guest on Networking with Nathaniel, and I should put him back on the 100 list, because I'd love to have him on again and learn more about what makes him tick at the level that he's at. But he literally said, do good business. Just do good business, and the right people, you will attract the right people, you'll attract the right vibe, the life that you want will come in. And I haven't had anybody say it as concisely as him, but I've had a lot of guests that have led that to just do good business, be honest, have integrity, do what you say you're going to do, treat people the way you want to be treated. And the do good business is, you can replace it with just like life, do good life, just be a good person. And if more of us did that, this would be I think the world's pretty darn good, but it would be a better world.
I think the world's pretty darn good. I like that outlook,
Yeah.
because you can, whatever you look for, you'll find more of.
Mm-hmm.
And I like your take on the values first. I think about it like you find alignment is out of place really quickly when I'm not leading with values.
Right.
So when someone's like, what is alignment? I don't understand. Well, you know it really quick if I'm not leading with values. And so getting clear of what are the values that I personally hold? Am I even aware of what those are?
Yeah.
And I think it's really easy to know when I'm out of alignment, there's something I'm not valuing or prioritizing as a value, not just in my words and thought, but my actions. If I say I value family, but I'm working 100-hour weeks and not seeing them, do I really live my value? You're going to find you're out of alignment, right? So easy one to highlight is when I'm out of alignment, you feel it.
I still feel like I'm still constantly working on that, Kevin.
I think we all are.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know anyone that's a finished product. Maybe some people are, but I think someone gave me this analogy. I forget who it was. It was a coach. And they're like, all these things that I value, it's like I'm juggling these different plates, like that person that spins plates. You got these different areas of life. It's like I value family and my health, and here's what shows up in the business. And as I focus on one, I'm getting one going and spinning. But while I'm focused on one, I can't focus on all the other things. And so as I get something going, I got to keep going. Oh, here's family. Oh, here's something with my health. Oh, here's being a person of my word. Oh, here's, and like you can keep going around, but I'm never going to have it all moving at one time, and I can just set it and forget it. I got to keep coming back and looking at what's wobbling. The other thing is they're not all weighted the same. Like these plates are made of different materials. So if let's say I let doing good in business kind of wobble a bit, that might be made of rubber.
Right.
where it falls or like, it gets out of, it's not going to break immediately. Or if it does, I can get it back up and I can get it spinning. But if I let my health break or my marriage break, that thing may not go back together the way it was originally. You know what I mean? I might try to glue it back together, but it may never quite come back the way it was if I let it totally fall off and break.
Hmm.
And it might be made of glass or plastic. So I like thinking of
Yeah.
it like that. I value these things, but when they're out of alignment and I'm not focused on them, they may not go back the same way. That's been super important for me to realize when I'm juggling these things, make sure the ones that are really delicate don't break.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that, because I've pictured the spinning plates before, but never with, hey, these ones are made of china and that one is made of paper. So if you're going to prioritize ones, the china ones are kind of a little bit more important. Yeah.
Don't scratch the china. That's a
Yeah.
family right there. Any other ahas that stick with you from guests and being in these interviews and deep dives?
Kind of going back to the very first question you asked me, which is stick with it. If you have the intentions of making something happen and it doesn't happen right away, but it's still important to you, you got to stick with it. I've had people that have come on that did 2.5 years before getting their first deal. And they just knew that if I just stick with it, the leads are going to come. And then, and what happens is they do a deal. And then the next month they do another deal. And then the next month they're doing 2 deals. And it's because they weren't ready yet to start doing deals. They had to build up the skills and the systems and the mindset and all the things in order to start doing deals. And I tell myself this is, hey, you know what? If you went back to episode 1 and talked to that guy from 2 years ago, what would he think? You're behind. But I'm not. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. And if God or whatever you believe has intentions for this podcast to grow to, 1 million views or whatever that number is, that's where it's going to go. But I'm going to keep showing up every single week and I'm going to keep putting my best foot forward. And as long as he's not telling me, dude, you should stop this, I'm in it.
I'm gonna touch on this because I love this. Like, you're giving the message that people can hear. I also want to reveal the human behind you. Has there ever been times where you felt like quitting? Now, obviously you kept going, but what has shown up in those times, if at all, you thought about, I don't know. You had doubt.
What was has there ever been times where
where you felt like quitting, like letting go of the
Quitting.
show or taking a pause? Like, some people fool themselves into going, oh, maybe I'll take a break, even though in the back of your mind, you don't know when that would pick up again. Have you thought about that at all during this journey?
95 times.
Thank you. Okay. So everyone, if you're listening to this, not only is Nathaniel human, but I think just that right there, it's like how many times that persistent thought. Now,
it's been a constant, not constant, but even just the hour here that I spend on the show, is that hour better spent doing something else? And typically a show for me these days is maybe 2 hours of work. My amazing assistant Rachel does almost all the marketing and all the guest interfacing at this point. And so it's talking to her. Yeah, it's not even 2 hours. It's an hour and a half kind of tops. But could I be doing something else with that hour and a half that maybe would be more valuable? That's the question that I'm constantly having with myself. Up until now, the answer has been no. I'm getting a lot of value out of this, just from a communication standpoint. And I've been counting, Kevin. I have said 3 uhs on this show. I think I've said like 10. See, there's another one. I'm not getting rid of the likes so much yet, but it's the uhs that I'm working on. So just improving as a communicator from that aspect, it still has a lot of value to me. And improving as a conversationalist, somebody that's asking good questions. And so that for that aspect, it's still valuable to me. But is it worth it? Is what I'm building this towards, does it have value for me in the future? And so I still weekly almost and asking that question. So I haven't gotten to the point of like, I should just quit. I've had a couple of conversations with Brittany where should I be doing this still? Is this really moving our needle, you know? But it hasn't gotten to a point where I want to just cut it off. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I love, because I might be 3 feet from gold, only to
Yeah.
give up. And
Yeah.
I know that I've seen a lot of different podcasts. I know the journey can be long.
Yeah.
And so fruitful on the other side of getting a point to where there's real traction, real momentum. There isn't like a point in time where it's just like, I hit the finish line. But to actually see the slow growth turn into like a real uptick and inflection point, man,
Yeah.
it's like I've seen so many shows just fade before they got there. It was like you were just about there, and it's going to go somewhere. And it's usually more than several months. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years in.
Yeah.
But if I keep showing up, who knows what it will reveal. And I'm not just talking to you, Nathaniel, I'm talking to everybody out there. Like, just keep going.
Yeah.
Just keep going. Like, yes, the direction will change. The show might have some tweaks or updates. You'll learn as a host, or the systems behind the podcast improve. Like, there's a lot of things I can upgrade. But honestly, like the time behind it, the consistency is probably the biggest leverage point. It's just I go longer and don't give up as easily as somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So I want that to really hit home with everybody. If somebody was just starting their journey, what would you give back to them right now? Like, I'm thinking about a podcast. I'm about to start. I just talked to a woman last week. Love it. She's inspired. She's got it. She's in that uninformed optimism. What would you deliver to somebody that's just thinking about kicking this off and going on this journey of podcasting?
Outside of just get started. So just do it. The platform you're using doesn't matter that much. The editing and all that stuff, it doesn't matter that much. Just get started and get in comfortable having a conversation or looking at the camera and just talking to the camera if you're going to do it solo. And be okay with the fact that you're probably going to suck. I think that's something that holds people up from recording videos, whatever that may be. Even going to the gym for the first time. People, I'm going to suck. I don't know what I'm doing. What am I supposed to do with this dumbbell? The other people are looking at me. They're not looking at you. Just get over the fact that you're going to suck. The only person that's going to think that you suck is you or somebody that sucks less or sucks more. Sucks more.
Sucks more. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is something I use again and again. It's a phrase I utter. It's usually in silent. Mastery happens in the time that nobody's watching.
Mm.
Mastery happens in the time that nobody's watching. And the reason I keep uttering that is nobody sees those first few episodes in the way that you see it. Nobody has been on the journey showing up every episode, one after one for 100. I'm sure somebody's gotten close, but I bet you missed one or two.
Yeah.
But you, the host, you see all of those and you think everyone's watching. Yeah. I want to be embarrassed. I actually just had a YouTube video notification. It was like, hey, we took down this video. There's personal information shares. I was like, what is it? I look back and it was some video from like 15 years ago, literally 15 years ago. Like, and I'm like, what was I doing in 2012? First of all, and second, like, let me go watch some of these videos back there in like 2012. And I'm like, I was terrible. It was terrible. Ums and ahs and likes and stutters and But if I hadn't shown up on video or gotten better in communication over time, those reps, I wouldn't be as comfortable as I am behind a camera now, or behind a mic, or on stage. But that was from probably thousands of hours. I know just in coaching, as an executive coach, I stopped counting when I got to about 6,000 hours. I'm like, that was years ago. I mean, but mastery has shown up in the time that nobody was along that journey with me the whole way. And if you're a basketball player who's there at 4 a.m. when you're shooting free throws or running sprints. No, they're watching you when you show up for game time and you win that championship series. But they didn't get to see your whole journey, which is why I give yourself permission that mastery is going to happen in the time no one's watching.
Yeah.
So show up now. A piece I'll give to some of the audience members: the tech doesn't matter. You overthink it, procrastination. It's a good excuse to not get started. I like to have 4 to 8 episodes to just get in a flow, and then I launch with those 4 to 8 episodes. At least if somebody likes it, they can binge watch it. But what you use doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Riverside FM, StreamYard like this. I mean, there's some pretty easy tools now that we didn't have way back 15 years ago. Man, we were on freaking, what was it? Audacity, which looked like a tool from like Windows 95, and it still kind of does. And like it was hard back then. Now there's so many easy things to get this going. We didn't have YouTube clip creators and, you know, like Opus or some of these ones that do little shorts. Like it's never been easier.
Yeah. Jesse said something here on the side. They don't realize that as their business scales, they'll never have more time than they do now. And that is applicable to a lot of different
fatherhood,
a lot of different aspects of life. And it's like, I don't have time to go to the gym. It's not going to get any easier. You're not going to have more time. And at the point where you do have more time, you're not going to be going to the gym. you're going to lose it. Like, I don't have time to start my business. Trust me, as your kids get older, you're going to have less time. Right? So just, it's never been easier than now. Go get started. Just take action.
I needed to hear that today. Thank you for this.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking about, like, I know I was talking with Nathaniel. I'm about to have some changes in my life. My wife and I are expecting, which is exciting. And that means, okay, well, T minus X number of months, I'm going to have different responsibilities. My whole life will change.
Yep.
And it's never going to get, more available to me of taking things like health or relationships more seriously and really building foundation. Now, even if it's not that, it seems like if you look at somebody that's in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, you ask them about their responsibilities, they just stack 5-year, 10-year, like little increments. You just gain more and more responsibilities, more and more things that take, pressure around your time. And thus, there's no better time to start like now.
Yeah, especially as as high achievers, as goal setters and goal hitters, you're just going to move the needle. You're just going to move the bar. And what happens with higher bars? More responsibilities, more things that are pulling you in different directions and wanting your attention and wanting your time. So just do it. Yeah.
So just do it. Come on now.
Yeah. Check.
So if you take nothing away from this, do it now is a mantra I want you to iterate. Mastery is going to happen in the time no one's watching. I want you to be embarrassed looking back at those first few. Oh my gosh, what was I doing? I can't believe I said it that way. And could you see the background? It looked terrible. And it was. Yeah. No one's going to see.
All right, just get over it and just do the thing and be comfortable that you're gonna suck. Gonna suck. Yeah.
And I like where this question here towards the end is showing up here, because it leads into my last question that I want for you. So you're at 100.
Mm-hmm.
If this show continues 5-10 years out, okay, and you are consistent, you keep showing up, what do you hope people will remember about the podcast? 5 to 10 years out, what do you feel? What do you want them to remember? What do you feel would be like a one-liner or some takeaways of being involved with listening to the show?
That this show is a place that they can come listen to people who are growing and learn what makes them tick and learn what works and what hasn't worked for them. And over time, you can start to pick and choose the pieces that most align with you. because some, and I'll just like say morning routines. Some people say you got to get up and you got to take a cold plunge and you got to read and meditate and journal and do an exercise, and then you got to hit the sauna, you got to stick your face in the bowl, you got to eat some egg whites. And then other people say get up and get to work. And so which one of those aligns with you? And over the course of time, and as I move in the direction of asking more about people's habits and those types of things, you'll be able to pick and choose, oh, I love what that person is doing, and they journal every morning. So maybe I should start adding 5 minutes of journaling into my day. Or I love that guy has a great physique, and he says he works out for 15 minutes every day before he does anything else. I'll give that a try and see if it works out for me. And so you can go back and over the 100 episodes and find that already. I want to continue moving in that direction where we're just talking about growing as entrepreneurs, as professionals, as husbands and wives and parents and sons and daughters, as friends. We're just trying to grow, because we weren't put here to be stagnant. We weren't put here to fade away. We were put here to grow and flourish and enhance his kingdom. And that's how we do it. Long-winded, not a one-liner, but that's...
Oh, this was gold. Mic drop. Let's go. Well, folks, thank you for tuning in. It's been a pleasure guiding the conversation a little bit. 100 episodes in. I know this is going to go to another 100. You're going to hit 200 episodes, 400 episodes. And buckle up, because this journey is just going to accelerate into the types of conversations and guests brought on, the value that you're going to be taking away, and how the platform, this audience, is going to grow into something maybe a little different than what it currently is. Yeah. So, Nathaniel, thanks for leaning in. It's been a pleasure being in a conversation as a host and getting to flip the mic around for you on your own show. Yeah, with that, follow on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher. Make sure that you leave a review, and be sure to tune in on YouTube Live as the next episode hits, as we get into the next 100. Any last pieces you want to get?
Yeah, before we go, I want to say that I appreciate you. This was your idea, first off. So I really appreciate the idea alone, and then being willing and able to take time out of your day to come do this. You were, I forget what episode you were, 47 or something like that. It was a long time ago. And I got so much value out of you coming on the show and talking through so many different things, but the, multiple conversations in group settings and individually that we have, you inspire me, you motivate me, you continue to move me into growing in all the directions that I'm growing. As a communicator, I believe tonight is the last night of round 2.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're out there and you're trying to grow as a communicator, you should come to the Zoom tonight. It starts at 7 p.m. Eastern time. You can message me, and I will get you the link for that. It is 2 to 4, depending on who decides they want to show up. People tonight that are going to be giving speeches, and then just the speeches alone are valuable, but the critiques, the
feedback,
insights, the feedback, there you go, that Kevin, Jesse Stanton, Amber McCollum are giving in between is where the real gold is found. We get motivated from the people, and we're able to take away a little bits and pieces from each speech, but it's those in between things where you go, ooh, I can install that into my communication skills immediately. So I really appreciate you. And if there's anybody listening that wants to be a part of those, reach out.
Love that. Thank you, brother.
Later.
Appreciate you, and I fully receive it. So with that,